Good afternoon, Professor Mangott.
Good afternoon.
Today I would like to talk to you about basically a war between two neighboring countries, Armenia and Azerbaijan. A conflict that is being very traditional and it's very old. It's also ethnic. What do you think are the historic origins of Nagorno-Karabakh?
Well, this conflict is actually quite old, and Stalin is responsible that a predominantly Armenian populated province of Azerbaijan belongs to Azerbaijan. And in this province, at the end of the 1980s, the Armenian population demanded to be united with the Armenian Socialist Soviet Republic. This was not possible for legal reasons. It was not supported by the Soviet leadership, and then after the collapse of the Soviet Union, a war broke out between the two countries, Armenia and Azerbaijan, with a lot of people expelled from both countries, hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijani people, hundreds of thousands of Armenian people. Today this province, Nagorno-Karabakh, or Artsakh as the Armenians call it, is populated almost exclusively by Armenians.
Legally, it's still Azerbaijan's territory. What we see conflicts that once happened or were close to begin, even with the local fightings, were frozen, and since then not a universal solution was never implicated. It's not the fault of the OSCE, of course, but the fault of the countries that could not cooperate on those topics. We still have peacekeepers in former Yugoslavia. We have peacekeepers in northern Cyprus. We have OSCE mission in Transnistria, if I'm not wrong. What do you think would be the best solution to solve the issue? Should it be a referendum held there, or should it be another OSCE mission?
Well, this bloody war between Armenia and Azerbaijan was ended in 1994 with a ceasefire, and since then an OSCE troika made up by Russia, France and the United States is trying to mediate in the conflict. They had decades of negotiations between these mediators and the two countries, but so far the only thing that could have been guaranteed, but also not for the whole of the time, was a continuation of the ceasefire. As you said, Nagorno-Karabakh definitely is part of Azerbaijan. The territorial integrity of Azerbaijan has never been put in question by the OSCE and not by the three mediators. What Azerbaijan is offering Armenia is a very wide autonomy for this province where Armenians live, but Armenia is refusing such a proposal. Armenia, despite having not recognized Nagorno-Karabakh as an independent state, claims that it is Armenian territory. And in order to have control over Nagorno-Karabakh, the Armenians have also occupied 7 provinces of Azerbaijan. So it's understandable that Azerbaijan has now launched this military escalation with Armenia because it has been denied its territorial integrity for a while, though I do not think that solving the problem with a war will bring peace between the two countries. I do think that an autonomy for Nagorno-Karabakh within the territory of Azerbaijan would be the best solution. So what Azerbaijan has offered to the mediators is quite acceptable from my point of view, but Armenia has so far refused to accept that proposal. And the Armenian elite, despite the change of the government in Armenia in 2018, is closely tied with the political elite of Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Armenian elite simply could not and cannot accept this Azerbaijani proposal of full autonomy.
We assume that the biggest fault here was behind Azerbaijan. Do you also think that in case of the escalation of the conflict here, it was Azerbaijan but not Armenia?
Well, the two countries have accused each other of having started the hostilities, but it's much more likely, as you say, that Azerbaijan started the war against the Armenian forces on the territory of Azerbaijan, because Armenia has an interest in maintaining the status quo, whereas Azerbaijan, which wants to get back its territorial integrity, has an interest in making changes on the ground by military force. So it's most likely that Azerbaijan has started, and I think it would not have started this war with Armenia without the explicit encouragement by the Turkish government and by the Turkish reassurance that Turkey would, including military force, provide assistance to Azerbaijan in the fighting.
What is the connection between Turkey and Azerbaijan, apart from the religious, of course, and the cultural similarity between those two countries? There must be some economic interests.
Well, I think there are three factors explaining why Turkey is so much aligned with Azerbaijan. First, it's what you said, the ethnic kinship. The religion is diverse. Turkey is a Sunni country, Sunni Muslim country. Azerbaijan is a Shiite country, but there are strong ethnic ties between them. And already back in the early 1990s, Turkey had started to implement a pan-Turkic foreign policy, which later on focused no longer very much on the Central Asian Turkic states, but on Azerbaijan exclusively. Secondly, as you indicated, yes, there are economic and financial interests involved. There is a pipeline from Baku, Azerbaijan's capital, via Georgia to Erzurum in Turkey, and Azerbaijan is financing the construction of a continuation of this pipeline, the Trans-Anatolian pipeline, TANAP. With this pipeline, Turkey is delivered about 16 billion cubic meters of gas annually, Azerbaijani gas. And Turkey, which is very much dependent on foreign energy supplies, has an interest to diversify away from Russia, which is the dominant gas supplier to Turkey at the moment. Iran is another, Azerbaijan is a third one. In order to diversify away from Russia, Turkey is interested in increasing the cooperation between Azerbaijan and Turkey. And the third factor, of course, is that old rivalry between Armenians and Turkey. We need to think back to the year 1915, when we saw an Armenian genocide by Turkish or Ottoman forces, and since then relations have been very disputed, very difficult, and so it's also the opposition to Armenia that brings Turkey close to Azerbaijan.
But what about Russia and Armenia? They have the defensive pact, according to which Russia is intended to defend Armenian forces within the Armenian territory, which is not possible at the moment since Nagorno-Karabakh is legally an Azerbaijani territory. But apart from that, Russian position is also very mild. I do not see a conflict between Russia and Turkey at the moment.
The attitude of most Western countries, particularly France and the United States, is pro-Armenian and not pro-Azerbaijan. So if Russia intervened on Armenia's side, it would not cause a conflict with the most important Western countries. However, Russia has built very strong ties with both countries, with both Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it doesn't want to lose any of these close relationships by taking sides in the current military conflict. And as the Armenian territory proper is not yet attacked by Azerbaijan, and most likely will never be attacked by Azerbaijan, Russia is under no obligation to fulfill its commitment from the Collective Security Treaty to defend Armenia. Russia only obliged to defend Armenian territory, but not Armenian forces operating on the territory of another country. So this is why Russia is quite passive, seen from the Armenian side. However, we had some phone diplomacy over the past days between Paris, Washington, Ankara and Moscow. Moscow and France have called for an immediate halt to the fighting quite recently. they are in contact with the two warring parties and try to convince them to stop the hostilities. So far it's just diplomatic efforts that we see from Russia to stop the conflict, because despite the fact that Russia is a mediator in the Minsk group of the OSCE, Russia does have an interest in maintaining the status quo.
Because Russia doesn't want to pick a side in this conflict, not because it doesn't want to get more critics from the West.
No, it's just that Russia has an interest in stopping the fighting and maintaining the status quo ante, and keep on mediating within the framework of the OSCE together with France and the United States.
And at the same time, there is a conflict between Turkey and Cyprus and Greece in the Mediterranean region. Turkey is being very proactive, I would say, even aggressive in both the western and the eastern direction. Why do you think the situation escalated this way, that Turkey is now misbehaving, basically?
Well, for one, its behavior in the eastern Mediterranean is basically due to what we have seen as a very aggressive foreign policy by Turkey over the past 5 years. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, is in troubles at home. The economy is deteriorating. The currency has lost a lot of its external value. Inflation is high. So Erdogan is using foreign adventures to stir up nationalism in the country, to make people forget about the dismal social and economic situation in the country. But we also have this aggressive foreign policy because Turkey thinks about itself as a role model for the Middle East and Northern Africa, and wants to expand its influence in these two regions with its neo-Ottoman behavior that we have seen in Syria or in Libya. And another reason why Turkey is taking this position is that, as I've said before, Turkey is very much dependent on gas supplies from other countries. So when Turkey claims that several of these gas fields are within its own exclusive economic zone, then Turkey would have an additional source for gas supplies for Turkey, which would make it more independent from its current suppliers.
Cyprus wants to increase its inclusive economic zone. Turkey is opposed to this idea. Are there any gas resources within the area that Cyprus wants to claim?
Well, actually, Cyprus is insisting that its current exclusive economic zone is respected by Turkey, and the current exclusive economic zone of Cyprus is guaranteed by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. But Turkey is disputing the borders of this exclusive economic zone. And within this exclusive economic zone of Cyprus, which is at least claimed by Cyprus, we have quite substantial gas deposits. However, I have to say that currently no major international energy company is interested in exploiting these gas fields, because it would be much too expensive technologically wise, and is not actually feasible financially given the current low gas prices. So I would say that the first reason I gave for the Turkish stance is more important than the second one, namely to exploit these gas reserves by themselves.